Welcome into the OKS Youth Ministry Podcast with your favorite three mediocre/okay youth ministers. I am Jeremy Crow, and I'm joined by Hunter Puckett and Michael Wait Nope. We're still at Lads to Leaders, and Michael does not exist in this place. But welcome to the show, Hunter Puckett.
We are missing Michael.
He's in Atlanta.
We're having to run all the tech stuff ourselves.
And it's very hard.
Jeremy is very qualified, but it is still difficult.
It is hard. So we have an awesome opportunity today. We have a special guest, and it is the one and only, the bald but beautiful Matt Parker. Matt is the worship minister for the Beltline Church of Christ in Decatur, Alabama, the River City. Is that what they call it?
The River City.
The River City.
Yes, the River City.
Did we actually say that, though?
I've heard it. I've read it somewhere. I've heard it both ways. So, so the River City, Matt has been there for leading as the worship minister for 2 years? 3 years?
Official capacity. We've been there 13 years, and kind of led off and on, but officially on staff for 2 years. Yes.
Not only that, you are officially the first Beltline minister to be on this podcast.
That's true.
You know,
shout out to Sam, who's never showed up to
who I've said to him several times, you got to get with Jeremy and the guys. Like, I know, dude. I know it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
And it will be when he has time for us.
So here's what we want to talk about. While we've got a worship professional, is what I'm going to call you right now. Someone who does this on a routine basis, leads worship experiences. And I think that's a real thing, not just worship moments, but experiences, right? And so he has a heavy hand in guiding those kind of moments at Beltline, and with a lot of our area youth things that we do as well. We want to spend some time talking about and thinking about what role worship plays in the ministry to our teenagers, and how important those things are. So let me start by asking this. What is your first memory of singing at a youth devotional type function for yourself?
Well, you're going to get me in trouble. I did not grow up in the Church of Christ.
Okay.
I grew up in the Church of God. And so a little bit different there. My first experience was I remember going to a youth convention in Florida. First one, I was probably 12 or 13. I was probably 11. And just that experience was, again, a little different, but just everybody in the same room, a couple hundred people, hearing those voices, hearing what's going on. It really, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. So through that, got into the leading part of it. But yeah, that was probably my first experience was at a convention with hundreds of my closest friends, just singing.
Okay, Hunter, this is going back. What's the oldest memory you have of a worship singing, especially like a teen-related kind of event?
Well, we used to have singing nights growing up. I think most churches still do have singing nights growing up. And in my earliest experiences, I never really got into leading singing until college.
Okay.
I was never really interested in it. And not only that, I was just scared to do it. To be the simplest form. You know, I'd see all my friends go up front. They'd get to lead their songs growing up at church. And I was never about it. Just something about it just terrified me. And then I went to, shout out to the Finger Church of Christ in Finger, Tennessee, outside of Freed-Hardeman.
Okay.
And it's a tiny church.
I think, let's go back for just a second. I think you're mispronouncing, however you say that word.
What did I say?
I think you said finger. I think it's Fanger.
Fanger? Oh,
Fanger.
Okay.
Fanger.
Kind of like Burr, Alabama.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
No. It's
Burr. Fanger.
But that was my first real experience of getting up and I guess there was just one song. It was Lily of the Valley. I still remember it. Yeah. And I got down and I sat back in my seat and I said, wow, I could have been doing this the entire time. And then once I got to Flint and being there, I've gotten to lead a lot more, and with experiences like Maywood and other things like that, I love leading singing now. But I was always one of those that just kind of a little timid, a little afraid to lead singing, just to come to find out that I'd say it's not that big a deal. It is a big deal, but it's a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so for me, man, I'll tell you, like I grew up in and around, singing in church, things like that. I did Lads Leaders growing up, led some of my church. But for me, the I would call it the anchor memory, or the really transformative memory moment for me was the first time I attended an area-wide youth devotional in high school. because I didn't grow up in a congregation that was involved with that kind of things. We didn't have a full-time youth minister. We didn't have a lot of youth activity type things outside of Lads Leaders. And I went to this area youth devotional, and I remember singing the songs "Light the Fire," like this, "Light the Fire," man. And this is before those of you who are listening now that might have something like the Ministry League app, or you look up songs, you can find lyrics everywhere. I'm kind of on the older side of youth ministers, and so when I had this experience,
was this Old Testament or New Testament times?
New Testament times. But when I had this experience, I couldn't go look up this song, right? And so I had this song in my heart that I heard, and if you've really ever listened to the lyrics of "Light the Fire," I mean, it's transformative, right? God, bring about new life within me, right? So you're singing this incredible thing, and it evoked this emotion, this desire to release something before God in my worship that I had never experienced before. And it was such a moving moment. And I had to wait for the next area wide to be able to hear it again. And they didn't sing it at the next area wide. And I had no idea what the song, I couldn't find it anywhere, I had no idea. And I didn't even remember what it was called. I just knew it moved me in some way, right? Yeah. It was such a cool thing. What for you has been a song that has really just spoken to you in a certain way? I know it's on the spot question. I'll cut out some silence if I need to. But what's for you a song that has just really been moving to you as you either lead it or as you heard it be led, as you participated in it, whatever it might be?
Recently, I think "The Goodness of God" has become a really powerful song.
Yes.
Here we are in 2025. Not only it's like a worldwide phenomenon. God, I really think phenomena. Phenomena. No, okay. So anyway, and what happens is as we travel around, do these things, we sing that song. Even last night here in the atrium, it was just a moment because we're just singing. It's a reminder of how good God is to us. All my life, you've been faithful. That's through hard times. That's through good times. That's through stressful times. We know that God has promised good, right? And we can hold on to that promise. He's not gone back on a promise yet. So right now in my life, "The Goodness of God" is the song that I go to, and a song that as we travel
has to be sung.
It's a moment. It's a moment.
Yeah. Well, I've seen y'all doing that a lot as well with Infusion. We'll talk about that in a minute. I've seen a lot of y'all leading that song at a lot of the places you go to. One of mine, I think we've talked about this before. Recently, it's been "Call Me Higher." I love that song. It's saying that we could sit back, we can sit back and wait for all of your goodness, but instead we're going to go do more. We're going to be called higher. And then of course, "Hymn of Heaven." I love that song. The chorus is great. A lot of times we get into this rhythm of singing, or maybe we'll say this rut of showing up to church and we're singing songs. Like, we understand that we need to sing songs, and we understand that maybe Matt or Jeremy or myself, we get up in front of the congregation and we're leading these songs, and we often forget that sometimes we need to slow down and hear the words that we're singing and how powerful they are. And
on that day we'll join the resurrection, standing beside the heroes of our faith with one voice, with 1,000 generations singing together. What a moving song. Well, and
that's again, you talk about what song, that's a great one. There's so many out there, but my wife, that's something that's really impacted her because about 2 years ago, her grandmother passed away from cancer. She battled many forms of cancer over the last 10, 15 years, and finally went on over to be with the Lord. And that song reminds her of her Nana because when you think about it, we're joining with those heroes and to her, and we know we're talking about who've gone before us, and she can picture her Nana sitting at the throne singing to Jesus when we sing this song. So it's really impactful, and that's a whole nother psychological lesson we can talk about later.
And for me, I don't remember who it was, but there was a song leader at some point that I was and he said, when we sing this verse, I want you to change the lyrics. And he said, "My sin, oh the bliss of this glorious thought, my sin not in part but the whole." And instead of saying "is nailed to the cross," he's saying "is nailed to his cross," right? My sin is nailed to his cross. And still to this day, when we sing it as well, I can't sing the lyrics that it's written. Sorry, whoever wrote it. I have to sing it this way because it evokes something within me to think about the depth of what it means for my sin to be put upon his cross.
Well, it's Horatio Spafford who wrote that, so I think he's long gone by now.
Yeah, you're good. You won't get beat up after this.
That's public domain thing, so I think you're good.
So, Matt, let me ask you this. when you're leading singing, what are some things that you try and focus on when it comes to maybe setting up the song service, or really maybe the songs that you choose? How do you maybe go about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when we're leading singing, you're really leading a sermon when you think about it.
Amen.
We use, we in our church use Ephesians 5 and Colossians 15 a lot, or 3:15, singing together, singing to one another, songs, spiritual songs. And so when we're singing a song, we're singing a sermon. So when I'm putting together, I'm getting with, if I'm going into say our preacher, Steve, hey, what's your main points, right? So I'm going to lead up to that, and my songs are going to tell a story. I'm not just going to pick my favorite songs because Mama likes them, right? I'm going to go through these words, the lyrics, and make sure they're flowing and there's a context there as just like I'm putting together a 3-point sermon. And it's going to lead us to a certain point. A lot of times if I don't get anything from Steve or the preacher, I'm leading to communion. I'm going to get there and then I'm going to come out of communion. So I am thinking contextually, what point am I trying to get across through these songs?
Yeah, and I like the intentionality of, I'm going into this knowing that I am communicating a gospel message even long before the sermon takes place, right? And sometimes we're putting people in a mindset or a place, a mentality that their heart is open to the things that the preacher is about to bring in the lesson. Mm-hmm. It's so cool.
Yeah, and that's right. And kind of, I know I've talked to so many preachers. I should get closer to the mic. Sorry. I've talked to so many preachers who the biggest frustration is they get done with singing and they've got to spend, as a preacher, 15 minutes trying to get the congregation back to a place where they're ready to receive the word. Yeah. And so one of my jobs too is to think, if I can say this over this microphone, think about having a congregation in your hands as almost a present. And when I pass it off to Steve or whoever's speaking, I'm literally passing the congregation to them saying, okay, they are ready for you. We have been to the throne room. They're ready to receive a word. Go. That way he doesn't have to, okay, how's everybody doing? All right, let's get on our feet. We've got to make sure that we're leading into that speaking, right? We got to have to make sure our hearts are right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you've had an opportunity. I know you lead a lot of things with congregation as a whole, but what kind of opportunities or moments have you seen with leading with the teen ministry there at Beltline or with our area-wide things? And how do you see teenagers engaging in worship maybe differently than you see some of your adults?
So you hear the term, and hopefully y'all agree with me on this, the youth are the church of the future. That's not true.
Yeah. That's right.
The youth is the church today, right? So
they're sitting in there right now.
They're right now. We can't put them off. So when we lead with youth, I do see there tends to be some kind of a disconnect sometimes because teenagers are too cool to sing sometimes.
Yeah.
But after a while, when they trust you and they can see that, hey, we're going somewhere, those walls tend to come down. I have noticed that there are some songs that are out there right now that are really affecting teenagers, especially speaking to anxiety and depression, and understanding that our praise is a weapon against that. And so I'm starting to see with the youth, there's some songs that are really breaking down some barriers. They're more susceptible to the words. They're not just singing them to sing, I think. They're contemplative. They're hearing these words. And there's actually been studies recently that say, I don't know what the exact number is, but 80 to 85% of the theology that teenagers are getting right now is not coming from the Bible. It's coming from music. Yeah. It's coming from what they're hearing from Brandon Lake.
And I would say you're seeing a lot of the popularity go back into these Christian singers, your Brandon Lake and all those guys as well.
So the worship portion that is really important because we have to be really aware of scripture songs and really pour that into these youth because there's something happening within this generation which is exciting. Yeah. And there's also things happening that's not exciting, but I think there's more.
We're seeing it in the sports world too, like crazy enough in college football. You're seeing it all over the place.
Yeah, so they're more receptive. They're really taking that in a lot more than say spoken word. For whatever reason, this generation it's really speaking, and it's because we're an entertainment culture. That's who we are. TikTok, all those things. They're seeing this and being quick, fast, high intensity, high energy music. and so we have to be intentional to do that and make sure we're getting the right words into the kids. Right?
Well, I want to preference this a little bit. Last night, we all three had the opportunity to lead singing at the Fountain Devotional here at Lads Leaders at Nashville. And what I mentioned this to Jeremy, I believe, it was during one of your songs that you were singing. You sang 2 newer songs, Gratitude and might have been Goodness of God.
Yeah.
And it was both of those. And I mentioned this to Jeremy that, a lot of times, and one of the songs we also sang was Our God is Alive. And that's the song that I always see a lot of people pour their phones out, they're recording. I didn't see that last night.
Yeah.
When I saw them recording, and this was what really caught my attention, was Gratitude and Goodness of God. Those were the 2 songs that they really pulled out their phones and really recorded the entire length of that song. And I think we're starting to see this shift of, we're starting to see these newer songs be added into our collection of songs that we choose from. Yeah. And what we're seeing are the kids are really liking it. The teens love it.
Well, they're hearing it again because it's becoming more mainstream. They're hearing it at school. Mm-hmm. They're hearing it in their locker rooms. They're hearing it in the radio, even on secular channels, right? They're hearing this. So all of a sudden, when they hear it in a church setting, again, they're like, I know this song. This song means a lot to me.
I jammed out to this in my car on the way here.
Right. Yeah. So now there's a connection to the world because be in the world, not of it, right? They're connecting now. Church song, now I can go out from here and share this community with my friends. There's connections there that happen through these songs.
One of the things, you and I got the opportunity to go to Worship Leader Institute in Nashville, or at least I did in Nashville. Was yours in Nashville or?
I've been to
Cookville?
Florida and Cookville. Shout out. By the way, he's gonna charge you for that.
No, he's not.
I'm just kidding.
No. But I will say,
we'll edit that out.
The song that we've talked about a lot in that is kind of becoming one of the battle cries. For years and years, it was Amazing Grace for years, but we've moved into this generation of now like songs like In Christ Alone, or like these parade march, like we are collectively together going, into being disciples of Jesus and going out into the world, and so I love seeing that movement. So let me ask you this, and we're going to start to move towards kind of what you've got going on. With your intentional effort to help improve the worship there at Beltline and help them as you lead them, you've also kind of taken on this role of helping structure a program that helps churches across the board, throughout the country, with learning how better to offer their worship and also ways in which to encourage their members to be more engaged. So tell us a little bit about what you've been working on.
Yeah, so we started the ministry, Infusion Ministries, and it came out of WLI, which again is a Worship Leader Institute. It's I'm going to plug it if that's okay. 1 week long.
$20?
Yeah. I'll talk with Keith about it.
$30?
It's a week long intensive training for worship leaders in the Church of Christ to go and learn techniques, directing, but even more than that, just the spiritual aspects. And so from that, me and my partner Alan Baggett, we went to lunch and we should see if there's some churches around here that maybe wants just some help, and it kind of flourished. Now the goal is this. Can I get real? Can I get real honest?
Let's get real.
How honest can we get?
We're all about authenticity.
Let me see. Is this?
No, that's not the right one. Michael's not here, so we do apologize.
No, I feel like this is getting real.
This is getting. That's a good. So, what you found, if you've probably experienced this, there are churches when we go in to sing and worship that are more like funeral parlors. They're just the songs get.
Sorry. Take my hands off the soundboard.
We don't have song leaders who are trained, right? They're just going and picking their, and that's not any fault of their own. We need to help them, but they drag. They're not picking the songs that are really leading into the message. The singing is just kind of becoming very stale, and a cappella singing is so powerful. Again, I didn't grow up in this.
Yes.
This a cappella tradition is beautiful. I've had more people, when they come to Beltline or wherever, I've never experienced that before. That is so powerful. There's something about it because the human voice, God gave it to us. It can do some awesome things. It can do some awful things too, but it can do some awesome. Ask Jeremy. No.
Whoa.
I'm just kidding. No, it can do some awesome things. And guess what? we can literally sing wherever we go, right? We don't have to wait on the guitar or the piano. So our ministry is to go and help churches reinvigorate, reinfuse the joy and the energy of the good news, right? We're singing about our God is alive, the goodness of God. We need to sing that with a smile on our face because it's exciting. So that's the goal of our ministry, is to travel and just encourage and love on churches and kind of reignite some fires there, light the fire in my soul. So that's kind of the...
So let me ask you this. What's coming up soon for the Infusion Ministries? What kind of things are on the horizon?
We got a lot of stuff. We have several events we're still working on. We are, we got 3 or 4 worship fests that are coming up. The next one will be at Beltline. I don't know when this is going to air, but we have one coming up at Beltline in May. We got WLI. So WLI, we got Tullahoma, we got Mobile. But the biggest thing that we're working on right now in this little break is we are about to launch our own podcast. Yeah, it's called from. I got to be careful with this. Oh, you got a button? Yeah,
there we go.
There it is.
The crowd's going wild here.
Hey, man. Okay.
Whoops.
So the podcast is going to be called, I got to be careful, ready? From Pitch to Praise. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but cool. So
I'm sorry. I won't touch it again.
I think we're all sleep deprived.
So what's it going to cover?
So our goal is to take just ideas and thoughts of worship. This is like what we're talking about now, how it affects youth. We want to talk about why do we sing, kind of some science behind that, which we talk about in our worship fest as well. But Alan is a doctor. He's a physician, and he's done a lot of just research and science. What happens to the brain when we sing? What happens to your hearts? Like, what happens to your lungs? Like, there's a lot of cool things that are in there. We're going to talk about those things. We're going to bring in special guests. We're going to have people from a cappella coming. We're going to have just talking about worship and how we can be better in that, because God deserves our best. What are maybe an understanding? Maybe there's a lack of understanding in what we're really doing, because for years we've just kind of done it, and no one's really taught us what does it mean when we're singing these. What does it mean when you say we're going to the throne room? What does it mean when you're leading? So we're having conversations about what all that means.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So I am looking forward personally to listen to that, because I love singing. I love leading in worship. I love seeing teenagers make connections with their faith through the venue of music, right, of worship. So I'm looking forward to kind of letting them hear some of that and seeing how that affects the way that they think about who God is and what that means in their life.
Well, and bringing back some excitement to song leading. You get up there and you sing, sing and be happy. Yeah. And you look out and it looks like everybody's mom just passed away. Right. And it's so depressing. But for real, look next. If you're a song leader, look out in the audience, or if you're a member, just look over the audience and see who has joy about singing praises to God.
Yeah,
and look at the people that don't.
I always joke about sing the wondrous love of Jesus, sing His mercy and His grace. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. And I'm looking out and I see people, their cat died, and and think about this, as an unbeliever, if you come into church and you see that, your thought may be like, I'm not sure if I want to go there.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like a happy place.
Yeah.
So somebody at some point needs to have their heart tell their face what their brain's trying to say.
Yeah.
Right.
But
that's a great way to say that.
If your cat does pass away, Jeremy Crow knows a guy who can bury it for you.
There you go.
And say a few words
a few words at the eulogy.
All right. So I think that's great. Listen, Matt, is there anything else that you want to say or express before we wrap things up here?
No, hey, I just appreciate the opportunity. We've had a great time here at Lads. Definitely looking forward to the Pitch to Praise podcast coming out. And hey, if you're ever interested, if your church wants to host a Worship Fest event, you can go to our website. It's infusionministries.org. Go there, check out what we're doing. You can fill out contact. We can talk to you. This whole thing is designed around your church. We can do a full weekend. We can come in and do a leadership summit with your leaders. We can work with your worship leaders in a little workshop. We call it a Lunch and Learn. It's a networking event. And, of course, the Worship Fest, which is an hour-and-a-half evening of worship, full weekend. We can do whatever. So come check us out, infusionministries.org. You're supposed to say it 3 times. Infusionministries.org, infusionministries.org. I'm going to say it one more time, infusionministries.org. Check us out.
Well done.
Well, Matt, we appreciate you. Our plan for this podcast is it's going to come out 1 to 2 weeks after he starts his podcast. So please do go like, subscribe, listen to the things that they're talking about, see how your church can grow in worship. And we're just thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We hope your ministry is blessed.
Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS youth minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.